Customer satisfaction is at 94%, Mr. Chen said, showing Jisoo the survey results. Loan approval rate has increased by 400%. More importantly, the default rate is actually lower than it was before. You know why? Because we are approving loans based on real criteria instead of bias, Jisoo said. When you judge people fairly, most of them succeed. Exactly, Mr. Chen said. You have proven something important, Jisoo. You have proven that doing good and doing well can go together. The bank is profitable because it is fair, not despite being fair. The trust fund had grown too. The portion that Jisoo had not spent on the bank had been invested wisely. It now held $4.2 million even after all the expenses of buying and renovating the bank. On the exact 6-month anniversary, Jisoo organized a community celebration. They closed the bank early and hosted a party on the lawn outside. There was food from local restaurants, music from local musicians, and activities for children. The entire community was invited. Hundreds of people came. Customers, employees, local business owners, families. Even some of the reporters who had covered the original story returned to see how things had turned out. Sophie gave a speech about how the bank had changed her life. I was ready to give up on banking, she said. I thought this industry was just about profit and greed. But Jisoo showed me that it could be different. She showed me that business could have a heart. Now I wake up every day excited to go to work because I know I am helping people. James gave a speech too. I worked in banking for 20 years before Jisoo bought this place, he said, his voice strong and proud. I saw a lot in those years. I saw people treated badly. I saw discrimination. I saw employees who did not care. I stayed because I needed the job, but I felt ashamed sometimes. Now I feel proud. Proud of this bank. Proud of what we do. Proud that someone so young had the courage to do what adults should have done years ago. When it was Jisoo's turn to speak, she stood on a small platform so everyone could see her. She wore a simple blue dress, the same color as the one she had worn when she first walked into the bank with her jar of coins. Thank you all for being here, she began. 6 months ago, I walked into a bank with a jar of coins and an employee made fun of me. She treated me like I did not matter because I was young and because I did not have a lot of money. She judged me based on what she could see instead of who I really was. The crowd was completely silent listening, but that experience taught me something important. It taught me how terrible it feels to be judged unfairly, and it made me determined to create a place where no one would ever feel that way. My grandmother used to say that every dollar has dignity, and so does every person. That is what Community First Bank believes. That is who we are. She paused, looking out at all the faces. Some people said I was too young to do this. Some people said I would fail. Some people laughed at me. But my grandmother taught me that age does not matter if you have knowledge, courage, and good values. She taught me that money is a tool for building better lives. She taught me that how you treat people shows who you really are. Jisoo's voice grew stronger. I want to thank Sophie, James, and every employee here who believed in this vision and worked so hard to make it real. I want to thank every customer who gave us a chance. I want to thank my parents for supporting me even when this seemed crazy. And I want to thank my grandmother, May Kim, who started with nothing and built everything, who taught me that anything is possible if you are brave enough to try. She held up a framed photograph of May that she had brought with her. This bank is dedicated to her memory, to her values, to everything she believed in, and I promise to keep working every day to make her proud. The crowd erupted in applause. People were cheering, clapping, some were crying. Jisoo felt tears on her own cheeks, but she was smiling. As the party continued into the evening, Jisoo found a quiet moment to step away. She sat on a bench near the bank's entrance and looked up at the sign glowing in the twilight, Community First Bank. She thought about Amanda Pierce, who had mocked her that first day. She wondered where Amanda was now, what she was doing. She hoped Amanda had learned something from all this. She hoped Amanda would treat people better in the future. She thought about Derek Walsh, who had been so sure that a child could not run a bank. The State Banking Commission was still investigating him for his fraudulent loan practices. His career in banking was over. But mostly she thought about May, about Sunday evenings at the kitchen table learning about compound interest, about trips to the library to read business books, about quiet conversations about values and character and using money as a tool for good. I did it, Grandma, Jisoo whispered to the evening air. I kept my promise, and I am not done yet. There are other communities that need banks like this, other people who need to be treated fairly. I am going to keep growing. I am going to keep helping, just like you taught me. A gentle breeze stirred, and for just a moment Jisoo could almost feel May's hand on her shoulder. Sophie found her there a few minutes later. There you are, Sophie said. People are asking for you. There is a little boy who wants to show you his piggy bank. He says he has been saving just like you did. Jisoo smiled and stood up. Let's go meet him. As they walked back to the party together, Jisoo thought about the future. She was only 12 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. And if she could do this much in 6 months, imagine what she could do in 6 years. Or 60 years. The world was full of possibilities. Full of people who needed help. Full of communities that deserved better. And Jisoo Kim, the girl who had been mocked for counting change, was just getting started. The story of Community First Bank was not an ending. It was a beginning. A beginning that proved that age is just a number, that courage can come in small packages, and that one person with good values can change everything. May Kim had started with $200 and a dream. Her granddaughter had started with a jar of coins and a lesson about dignity, and together, across the years, they had built something beautiful. The glass door of First National Bank swung open, and a young girl walked inside. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a heavy glass jar filled with coins and folded dollar bills. The jar was so full that she held it with both hands, her thin arms straining under the weight. She was 12 years old, with dark skin and bright, intelligent eyes that looked around the bank with quiet confidence. The bank was busy that Tuesday morning. Several customers stood in line, waiting for their turn at the teller windows. The air conditioning hummed softly and the sound of keyboards clicking filled the space. Behind the counter, 3 tellers worked at their stations. The girl joined the line, carefully setting her jar on the floor beside her feet. A woman in her mid-40s stood behind the middle window. Her name tag read Amanda Pierce. She had blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun and wore too much makeup that creased around her eyes when she frowned. She was helping an older man count out bills when she noticed the girl in line. Her eyes moved to the jar of coins and her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. The line moved slowly. One by one, customers completed their business and left. Finally, the girl reached the front. She picked up her jar again using both hands and walked to Amanda's window. She set the jar on the counter with a soft thud. "Good morning," the girl said politely. Her voice was clear and calm. "I would like to deposit this money into my account, please." Amanda looked down at the jar, then back at the girl. She did not smile. "Are you serious right now?" she asked, her voice loud enough that people nearby could hear. "Yes, ma'am," the girl replied. "I have been saving for 2 years. I counted it last night, but I would like the bank to count it officially." Amanda sighed heavily, the kind of sigh that said she had better things to do. "Do you have any idea how long this is going to take?" She tapped her long fingernails on the counter. "We have real customers waiting. Customers with real money." The girl did not react to the rudeness. She simply stood there waiting patiently. Behind her, a few people in line shifted uncomfortably. An elderly woman frowned. A young man in a business suit checked his phone, trying to look like he was not listening. "I can wait if you are busy," the girl offered. "But I do need to make this deposit today." Amanda rolled her eyes so dramatically that her false eyelashes nearly touched her eyebrows. "Fine," she said, dragging out the word. "But next time, maybe try using a real bank account instead of a piggy bank." She pulled the jar toward her and unscrewed the lid. Coins spilled slightly onto the counter, and Amanda made an exaggerated noise of frustration. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "Absolutely ridiculous." The girl watched silently as Amanda began sorting the coins into piles. Quarters in one pile, dimes in another. Nickels and pennies in their own groups. Amanda worked slowly, sighing every few seconds. She would pick up a coin, look at it as if it had personally insulted her, and then drop it into a pile with a loud clink. "You know, sweetheart," Amanda said without looking up, "banks have coin counting machines at grocery stores. You could have saved everyone a lot of time." "Those machines charge a fee," the girl responded quietly. 8% of the total. That seemed like a waste of money when banks count coins for free for their customers. Amanda paused, surprised that the girl had answered so logically. She frowned and continued counting, but her movements became more aggressive. She started making comments under her breath that were just loud enough to hear. "Can't believe this. Waste of time. Some people." 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The line behind the girl had grown longer. Other customers began to look annoyed, but their annoyance was directed at Amanda, not the girl. The teller at the next window, a young woman named Sophie, kept glancing over with concern. From his office at the back of the bank, the branch manager watched through his glass walls. Derek Walsh was in his 50s with gray hair and an expensive suit. He saw what was happening but did nothing. He simply returned to his computer screen, typing as if nothing unusual was occurring. Amanda finished counting the coins and started on the folded bills. There were 1s, 5s, 10s, and even a few 20s. She smoothed each one out with unnecessary force, making the process take even longer than it needed to. She typed numbers into her computer with sharp jabs of her fingers. "So," Amanda said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "What are you saving up for? Candy, video games?" "Information," the girl replied. Amanda looked up, confused. "Information?" "Yes, I like to research things. I have been researching this bank, actually." Amanda laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Oh, really? And what did your little research tell you?" The girl tilted her head slightly. "I learned that First National Bank was founded in 1963. I learned that it used to be the most trusted bank in this county. I also learned that it is currently failing." The smile dropped from Amanda's face. "Excuse me? Your bank is failing," the girl repeated calmly. "According to public financial records, First National Bank has lost 42% of its customers in the past 3 years. Your loan default rate is the highest in the region. The bank is scheduled for foreclosure auction in exactly 13 days. The other customers had stopped pretending not to listen. Everyone was now staring at the girl. Sophie had completely stopped working and was watching with wide eyes. Even Derek had stood up from his desk. Amanda's face turned red. "I don't know where you got that information, but you should not believe everything you read on the internet." "I did not read it on the internet," the girl said. "I read the official county records at the courthouse. Public information is available to anyone who asks for it." Amanda opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked like a fish gasping for air. She turned back to the money and finished counting in angry silence. Finally, she wrote a number on a deposit slip and shoved it across the counter. $847.23, Amanda said coldly. "Is there anything else?" The girl looked at the slip, then back at Amanda. "Yes, actually. I have some questions about the bank's auction." Amanda laughed again, but this time it sounded nervous. "The bank's auction is not something a child needs to worry about." "What is the minimum bid?" the girl asked. "That is none of your business," Amanda snapped. "Actually, it is public information," the girl said. "But I thought someone who works here might know the details." Amanda leaned forward, her voice low and mean. "Listen, little girl. I don't know what game you think you are playing, but this is a bank. A real bank for real adults with real money, not a place for children to play pretend." She pushed the deposit slip closer. "Take your receipt and run along. I am sure you have homework to do." The girl picked up the receipt and carefully folded it. She placed it in a small purse she carried over her shoulder. "Thank you for your help," she said politely. "I will see you again soon." "I certainly hope not," Amanda muttered as the girl walked away. The girl pushed through the glass doors and stepped into the bright sunshine. Behind her, the bank returned to normal. Amanda helped the next customer with a fake smile plastered on her face. Derek returned to his office. Sophie went back to her work, but her mind was elsewhere. None of them knew that everything had just changed. None of them understood that the little girl with the jar of coins was about to turn their world completely upside down. They had made the mistake of judging someone by their age and appearance. They had made the mistake of thinking that small money meant a small person. It was a mistake they would never forget. The girl's name was Jisoo Kim, and she was nothing like what Amanda Pierce had assumed. She lived in a comfortable house on the east side of town with her parents, both of whom were doctors at the county hospital. Her father was a surgeon and her mother specialized in pediatric care. They worked long hours but always made time for their daughter. But the most important person in Jisoo's life had been her grandmother, May Kim, and May was the reason Jisoo knew so much about money. May Kim had been extraordinary. She had come to America from South Korea at age 25 with nothing but a college degree and $200 in her pocket. She could barely speak English. She had no family, no connections, and no safety net, but she had something more valuable than all of that. She had an incredible mind for numbers and an unshakable determination to succeed. May had started as a secretary at a small investment firm. She worked during the day and studied at night, teaching herself English and learning everything she could about American finance. Within 5 years, she had earned her certification as a financial advisor. Within 10 years, she was managing portfolios for some of the wealthiest families in the state. May worked for 40 years, and in that time she became a legend in her field. She never made risky bets. She never chased quick profits. Instead, she studied, researched, and made careful decisions based on facts and patterns. Her clients trusted her completely because she never let them down. When Jisoo was born, May was already 70 years old and thinking about retirement. She looked at her granddaughter and saw something special. May decided that all her knowledge should not die with her. She would teach Jisoo everything she knew. Jisoo's parents were not sure at first. They wanted their daughter to have a normal childhood, to play with friends and enjoy being young. But May convinced them. "I am not going to turn her into an adult," May had said. "I am going to teach her that money is a tool. Nothing more, nothing less. She will understand it the way most people understand addition and subtraction." So the lessons began. When Jisoo was 5 years old, May started with the basics. She gave Jisoo an allowance of $5 per week, but she made Jisoo track every penny. Where did the money go? What did it buy? Was it worth it? These were the questions May asked every Sunday evening as they sat together and reviewed Jisoo's spending notebook. When Jisoo was 7, May taught her about saving and interest. They opened a real savings account together, and May showed Jisoo how compound interest worked. "Your money can work for you," May explained using simple examples. "While you sleep, while you play, your money is growing. But only if you are patient." When Jisoo was 8, May introduced her to the stock market, not to play with it, but to understand it. They would read the financial news together, and May would explain why certain companies succeeded while others failed. She taught Jisoo to look beyond advertisements and popularity.
"Find companies that solve real problems," May said.
"Find companies with smart leaders and good values. Those are the ones that last." By the time Jisoo was 10, she understood financial concepts that most adults never learned. She knew about assets and liabilities. She understood cash flow and profit margins. She could read a basic financial statement and understand what the numbers meant. But May taught her something even more important than numbers. She taught her about people. "Money shows you who people really are," May had said during one of their last conversations. "When someone has power over money, you can see their true character. Are they fair? Are they kind? Do they use their position to help others, or to make themselves feel important?" May died 1 year ago, just after Jisoo's 11th birthday. It happened suddenly. A stroke in the middle of the night. She was gone before morning. Jisoo had been heartbroken. May was not just her grandmother. She was her teacher, her friend, her guide. The house felt empty without her voice, without her Sunday evening lessons, without her gentle questions and wise advice. But May had left something behind. A trust fund with $2.8 million. May had been careful with her own money, just as she had taught Jisoo to be careful. She had invested wisely for decades and her wealth had grown steadily. The trust fund came with a letter, written in May's careful handwriting. Jisoo had read it so many times that she had memorized every word. "My dearest Jisoo," it began, "if you are reading this, then I am gone, but everything I taught you remains. This money is yours, but I have one request. Before you touch this trust fund, I want you to earn your first $1,000 on your own. Save it, count it, feel the weight of money that you earned through your own effort. Only then will you understand the true value of what I am leaving you. When you are ready to use the trust fund, use it wisely. Use it to make the world a little bit better than you found it. I love you always. Grandma May." So Jisoo had saved. For 2 years she had saved every penny. She did small jobs around the neighborhood. She walked dogs, watered plants when people were on vacation, helped elderly neighbors with grocery shopping. She tutored younger children in math. She sold handmade friendship bracelets at school. Every dollar went into the glass jar. She counted it regularly, watching the numbers grow. $500, $700, $800. Finally, after 2 years of work, she had $847.23. It was time to access the trust fund. But Jisoo had not just been saving money during those 2 years. She had also been learning and planning. She had continued studying finance the way May had taught her. She read books from the library about business and investing. She watched documentaries about successful companies and failed ones. She paid attention to the news, especially local news about businesses in her community. 6 months ago, she had noticed something interesting. First National Bank, one of the oldest banks in the county, was in serious trouble. There were articles about customer complaints, stories about mismanagement, rumors about financial problems. Jisoo had done what May taught her to do. She researched. She went to the county courthouse and asked to see public records. The clerk had been surprised by the young girl asking such specific questions, but public records were public. Anyone could see them. That was how Jisoo learned that First National Bank was scheduled for foreclosure auction. The bank had failed to meet its financial obligations. It had too many bad loans, too few customers, and too much debt. The State Banking Commission had stepped in and ordered the sale. Jisoo studied the auction information carefully. The minimum bid was $2.1 million. That was surprisingly low for a bank, even a failing one. But the bank's reputation was so damaged that most investors were not interested. An idea started forming in Jisoo's mind. It was bold. It was risky. It was exactly the kind of thing May might have done when she was younger. The day after her visit to the bank with her jar of coins, Jisoo sat at the kitchen table with her parents. She had prepared a presentation using her laptop. She had charts and graphs and detailed financial analysis. "I want to buy First National Bank," she announced. Her parents stared at her. Her father put down his coffee cup. Her mother stopped buttering her toast. "Jisoo," her father said carefully, "buying a bank is not like buying a bicycle." "I know," Jisoo said. "That is why I have prepared this analysis. May I show you?" For the next hour, Jisoo presented her case. She showed them the bank's financial history. She explained why it had failed. She outlined her plan to fix it. She had researched every detail, from staffing needs to marketing strategies to regulatory requirements. The bank failed because of bad leadership and bad choices, Jisoo explained. But the building is in a good location. The basic infrastructure is solid. Most importantly, this community needs a bank that actually serves the community. Right now, First National Bank rejects loan applications from small businesses owned by minorities. They reject loans from people in low-income neighborhoods. They care more about profit than people. Her mother spoke softly. "Baby, this is a huge responsibility. You are 12 years old. You should be thinking about school and friends, not running a bank." "I will not run it alone," Jisoo said. "That would be impossible. But I can own it. I can hire good people to manage the daily operations, and I can make sure it operates with the values that Grandma May taught me." Her parents looked at each other, having one of those silent conversations that married couples can have without words. Finally, her father nodded. "We need to talk to Mr. Chen," he said. Mr. Chen had been May's protege and eventually her business partner. He was now a successful financial advisor in his own right, and he managed the trust fund that May had left for Jisoo. He was honest, careful, and deeply respected May's memory. The next day, Jisoo and her parents sat in Mr. Chen's office downtown. It was a beautiful office with wooden furniture and plants by the window. Mr. Chen listened to Jisoo's presentation with the same patient attention he gave all his clients, regardless of their age. When she finished, he sat back in his leather chair and smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since May's funeral. "She taught you well," he said quietly. "I can hear May in every word of your plan. Does that mean you will help me?" Jisoo asked. Mr. Chen looked at her parents, who nodded. Then he looked back at Jisoo. "Yes," he said. "I will help you. But we need to do this correctly. There are legal requirements, age restrictions. We will need to set up a corporate structure with you as the owner, but with adult officers handling certain legal responsibilities. It will be complicated, I understand," Jisoo said. "I am ready to work hard." "I have no doubt about that," Mr. Chen replied. He pulled out a calendar. "The auction is in 13 days. We have a lot of work to do." As they left his office, Jisoo felt something she had not felt since May died. She felt purpose. She felt connected to her grandmother again, as if May was watching and approving. The game had begun. Over the next week, Jisoo became a regular visitor at First National Bank. She came every day after school, always with some small transaction. Sometimes she deposited $5. Sometimes she withdrew $3. Sometimes she just came to ask questions. Amanda Pierce grew more irritated with each visit. "You again?" she would say when Jisoo appeared at her window. "Do you not have anything better to do?" Jisoo would smile politely and conduct her business. She never argued. She never showed anger. She simply observed everything with those bright, intelligent eyes. But Jisoo was not just making transactions. She was conducting research. Every visit taught her something new about how the bank operated. She watched how long customers had to wait. She listened to their complaints. She noticed which employees were helpful and which ones were rude. She discovered that Amanda was not the only problem. The entire culture of the bank was broken. Employees seemed unhappy. They talked about customers in whispered voices, making fun of people who came in with small amounts of money or who did not understand banking terms. They treated well-dressed white customers with respect, but viewed everyone else with suspicion. Derek Walsh, the branch manager, was rarely at his desk. When he was there, he spent most of his time on personal phone calls or browsing the internet. Jisoo watched him leave for long lunches and return smelling like alcohol. He never walked around the bank to check on his employees or greet customers, but not everyone at the bank was like Amanda and Derek. Jisoo noticed two employees who were different. The first was James Parker, the security guard. He was a black man in his early 60s with gray hair and kind eyes. He stood near the entrance every day, greeting customers with genuine warmth. When elderly people struggled with the heavy door, James was there to help. When children came in, he would offer them a sticker from a sheet he kept in his pocket. James noticed Jisoo's frequent visits. One afternoon, as she was leaving, he held the door for her. "You are here a lot," he said with a smile. "Doing a school project on banks?" Jisoo paused. She liked James. She could tell he was a good person. "Something like that," she said. James nodded. "Well, if you need any help, you just let me know. I have been working here for 20 years. I know this place inside and out." 20 years? Jisoo said. "You must have seen a lot of changes." James's smile faded a little. "I have, not all of them good. This bank used to be special. We cared about people now." He trailed off, then shook his head. "But that is not your problem. You have a good day, young lady." The second person Jisoo noticed was Sophie Rodriguez, the young teller who worked next to Amanda. Sophie was in her mid-20s with long dark hair and nervous energy. She was the opposite of Amanda in every way. Where Amanda was rude, Sophie was kind. Where Amanda was dismissive, Sophie was patient. Jisoo watched Sophie help a Spanish-speaking customer one day. The woman was trying to send money to her family in Mexico, but did not understand the fees or the forms. Amanda at the next window made no effort to help. But Sophie took her time. She pulled up a translation app on her phone. She explained each step slowly and clearly. When the transaction was complete, the woman had tears in her eyes as she thanked Sophie. But Jisoo also noticed that Sophie looked tired. She looked worried. During slow moments, Sophie would check her phone with an expression of stress on her face. On Thursday afternoon, Jisoo timed her visit for a quiet period. Only one customer was in the bank, and they were at another window. Jisoo approached Sophie's station. "Hi," Jisoo said. "I need to check my account balance." Sophie looked up and smiled. Unlike Amanda, her smile was real. "Of course. Do you have your account number?" As Sophie pulled up the information, Jisoo spoke quietly. "Can I ask you something? Do you like working here?" Sophie's fingers froze on the keyboard. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "That is a strange question," she said carefully. "I am just curious," Jisoo said. "You seem like you care about helping people, but you also seem sad." Sophie looked at this 12-year-old girl who spoke like an adult and saw things that most people missed. For a moment, she considered giving a polite, meaningless answer. But something about Jisoo's honest eyes made her want to tell the truth. "I used to love this job," Sophie said quietly. "When I started 3 years ago, I thought I was going to make a difference. I wanted to help people manage their money, understand their options, build better lives, but..." She paused, checking again to make sure Derek and Amanda were not nearby. "This place has changed. Or maybe it was always like this and I was too new to see it." "What changed?" Jisoo asked. Sophie bit her lip. "We are supposed to help people. That is what banks should do. But we turn away people who really need help. Last month, a woman came in who wanted a small business loan to expand her catering company. She had all her paperwork. Her business was profitable. She had good credit. But Derek rejected her application without even really looking at it. Why? Jisoo asked, though she thought she knew the answer. Because she was black, Sophie whispered. He did not say that, of course. He said something about risk factors and market conditions. But I have seen him approve loans for his golf buddies who had worse credit and weaker business plans. It is not fair. It is not right. But what can I do? I need this job. I have student loans. I have rent. My mother is sick and I help pay for her medicine. Jisoo nodded slowly. What would you do if you could change things here? Sophie looked surprised by the question. Then thoughtful. Everything, she said. I would change everything. I would train the staff to treat every customer with respect. I would create programs to help people understand money better, especially people who never had anyone teach them. I would approve loans based on facts, not on what someone looks like or where they live. I would make this bank what it should be. That sounds like a good plan, Jisoo said. Sophie laughed sadly. It is just a dream. Nothing is going to change. This bank is dying anyway. We will probably all be out of jobs in a few months. Maybe things will change sooner than you think, Jisoo said. Before Sophie could ask what she meant, Amanda's voice cut through the air. Sophie, stop chatting and help this customer. A man had walked in and was waiting at Amanda's window, but Amanda was on her phone and did not want to be interrupted. Sophie rolled her eyes apologetically at Jisoo and went to help the customer. Jisoo left the bank with more information than she had come for. That evening, Jisoo sat with Mr. Chen in her family's living room. She showed him a notebook where she had documented everything she had observed: customer wait times, employee behavior, problems with processes. She had even sketched a basic floor plan of the bank showing where improvements could be made. You have been thorough, Mr. Chen said, impressed. But I have to ask, Jisoo, why did you go back so many times? You could have observed most of this in 1 or 2 visits. Jisoo was quiet for a moment. I needed to be sure, she finally said. Grandma May always said that you should never make big decisions based on small information. She said to watch patterns, not single moments. Anyone can have a bad day, but if someone is rude every single day, that is who they are. And what did you learn? Mr. Chen asked. I learned that the bank's problems are not just financial, Jisoo said. The numbers are bad because the leadership is bad. Derek Walsh is lazy and corrupt. Amanda Pierce treats customers like they are bothering her. They have created a culture where good employees like Sophie and James cannot do their best work. She flipped to a new page in her notebook. But I also learned that the bank can be saved. The location is good. Some of the employees are good. The community needs a local bank. If we fix the leadership and change the culture, the customers will come back. Mr. Chen nodded. You sound very confident. I am, Jisoo said, because I am not guessing. I am basing this on observation and facts. That is what Grandma May taught me. The auction was now 6 days away. Mr. Chen had been working hard on the legal requirements. He had set up a corporation called Community First Holdings, with Jisoo as the sole owner. Because she was a minor, the corporation had adult officers who could sign legal documents and handle regulatory matters. But the ownership was clear and undisputed. This was Jisoo's company. I have good news, Mr. Chen said. I have been researching the other potential bidders. Only 2 other parties have registered interest in the auction. One is a regional bank chain that wants to close First National and absorb its remaining customers. The other is a real estate developer who wants to tear down the building and build condos. What does that mean for us? Jisoo asked. It means they might not bid very high, Mr. Chen explained. The bank chain does not really want the bank itself, just the customer list. The developer just wants the land. Neither one is going to get into a serious bidding war. If we come in with a strong bid right away, we have a good chance. How much should we bid? Jisoo asked. Mr. Chen pulled out his calculator and some papers. The minimum is 2.1 million. I think we should be prepared to go up to 2.5 million if necessary. That leaves you enough money in the trust fund for renovations, new equipment, and operating capital for the first year. Jisoo studied the numbers. She thought about everything May had taught her about not overpaying for assets. But she also thought about Sophie's sad smile and James's kind eyes. She thought about the Spanish-speaking woman who had cried when someone finally helped her. She thought about all the people this bank could serve if it was run correctly. 2.5 million, Jisoo agreed, but only if we need to go that high. Grandma May always said never to pay more than something is worth. Mr. Chen smiled. Your grandmother would be very proud of you. On Friday afternoon, Jisoo made her last visit to First National Bank before the auction. She needed to withdraw $10 to pay for a school field trip. Amanda was at her usual window and Jisoo joined the line. When it was her turn, Amanda looked up and groaned. Not you again. What is it this time? I need to withdraw $10, please, Jisoo said politely. Amanda processed the transaction with her usual dramatic sighs and eye rolls. As she counted out the bills, she said loudly, "You know, normal people do not come to the bank every single day. Normal people use ATMs like everyone else in the 21st century." Jisoo took the money and folded it neatly. "Thank you for your help," she said. "I will see you on Monday." "I hope not," Amanda muttered. As Jisoo walked to the door, James held it open for her. "Have a good weekend," he said warmly. "You too, Mr. Parker," Jisoo replied. "Actually, I think it is going to be a very interesting weekend." James laughed, not understanding. "Well, I like your positive attitude." Jisoo waved goodbye and stepped outside. The autumn sun was warm on her face. In 3 days, everything would change. She could not wait. Monday morning arrived with clear blue skies. The auction was scheduled for 10 o'clock at the county courthouse in a large conference room on the 3rd floor. By 9:30, the room was already filling with people. Most of them were curious onlookers. News about the bank's failure had spread through the community, and people wanted to see what would happen. There were also reporters from the local newspaper and a TV station. A failing bank was interesting news in a small county. Derek Walsh sat near the front of the room, wearing his most expensive suit. Next to him was Amanda Pierce, dressed in a tight black dress and too much perfume. They both looked confident, almost smug. They whispered to each other and laughed at private jokes. "I heard it is going to be that chain bank, First Community," Amanda said. "They will probably keep most of us on staff. They need people who know the customers." Derek nodded. "I have a friend who works for them. He says they like experienced managers. I will probably get promoted when this is all over." Neither of them noticed when Jisoo walked in. She entered quietly with her parents on either side of her, and Mr. Chen following behind. Jisoo wore a simple navy blue dress and carried a folder with all her documents. Her mother had helped her braid her hair neatly. She looked exactly like what she was, a well-dressed 12-year-old girl. They took seats near the back of the room. Jisoo set her folder on her lap and looked around calmly. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed no nervousness. May had taught her that emotions were fine to feel, but you did not have to show them. In business, May had said, the person who stays calm has the advantage. At 9:50, Amanda turned around to scan the room. Her eyes passed over Jisoo, then snapped back. Her mouth fell open. "Derek," she hissed, elbowing her boss. "Derek, look. That kid from the bank is here." Derek turned around and spotted Jisoo. He frowned. "What is she doing here?" "I have no idea," Amanda said. Then she laughed. "Maybe it is bring your child to work day and her parents work at the courthouse." Derek chuckled. "Or maybe she thinks she's going to bid on the bank with her piggy bank money." They both found this hilarious. Amanda's laugh was so loud that several people turned to look at her. Jisoo heard every word but did not react. She simply opened her folder and reviewed her documents one more time. At exactly 10 o'clock, the auctioneer entered the room. He was a serious-looking man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and a briefcase. Behind him came a county official and a representative from the State Banking Commission. The auctioneer walked to the front podium and tapped the microphone. "Good morning. Thank you all for coming. We are here today for the foreclosure auction of First National Bank. Before we begin, let me review the rules." He explained the process clearly. The minimum bid was $2.1 million. Bidders had to show proof of funds before they would be allowed to participate. The highest bid would win. The winning bidder would have 15 days to complete all paperwork and transfer funds. "Are there any registered bidders present?" the auctioneer asked. A man in a gray suit stood up. Marcus Chen, representing First Community Bank. He showed his credentials. A woman in a red blazer stood next. Patricia Gomez, representing Riverside Development Group. She also showed her papers. The auctioneer nodded and wrote down their names. "Any other bidders?" Mr. Chen stood up. David Chen, representing Community First Holdings. He walked to the front and presented his documents, including proof that his client had sufficient funds in a trust account. The auctioneer examined everything carefully. "And who is your client?" "I am," Jisoo said, standing up. The room went completely silent. Every head turned. People stared. Someone whispered, "Is that a child?" Amanda's face went pale, then bright red. She looked like she might faint. Derek sat frozen in his seat, his mouth hanging open. "Could you please come forward?" the auctioneer said to Jisoo. Jisoo walked to the front of the room with her folder. Her legs felt shaky, but she kept her back straight and her head high, just like May had always carried herself. She reached the podium and looked up at the auctioneer. "I am Jisoo Kim," she said clearly. "I am the owner of Community First Holdings." The auctioneer looked uncertain. This was unusual, but he could see that all the documents were legal and proper. "Miss Kim, you understand that if you win this auction, you will be responsible for a significant financial commitment?" "Yes, sir," Jisoo said. "I have sufficient funds in my trust account, which Mr. Chen manages. All the money is legally mine, left to me by my grandmother. The documents show that my company is properly registered and authorized to make this purchase." The auctioneer studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at Mr. Chen, who nodded and handed over additional paperwork. After reviewing everything, the auctioneer made his decision. "Very well," he said. "Community First Holdings is registered as a bidder." Amanda made a strangled sound. Derek jumped to his feet. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "You cannot let a child bid on a bank." "This is a joke!" The county official stepped forward. "Mr. Walsh, please sit down. The bidder has presented all required documentation. Everything is legal and in order. But she is 12 years old," Derek sputtered. "And the company she owns is properly established," the official said firmly. "Unless you have a legal objection based on the actual regulations, please take your seat or you will be removed from the room." Derek sat down, his face purple with anger. Amanda grabbed his arm and whispered frantically in his ear. Around the room, people were pulling out their phones. This was not just news anymore. This was amazing news. Jisoo walked back to her seat. Her mother squeezed her hand. "You're doing great, baby," she whispered. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "Let us begin. The opening bid is $2.1 million. "Do I have 2.1? Marcus Chen from First Community Bank raised his number. $2.1 million. $2.1 million, the auctioneer confirmed. "Do I have 2.2? Patricia Gomez raised her number. $2.2 million. $2.2 million from Riverside Development. "Do I have 2.3? Marcus Chen shook his head. His company had determined that the bank was not worth more than $2.2 million. They were out. The auctioneer looked around. $2.2 million going once. Mr. Chen raised Jisoo's number. $2.3 million. The room erupted in whispers. Amanda grabbed Derek's arm so hard that he winced. "This cannot be happening," she kept saying. "This cannot be happening." Patricia Gomez frowned. Her company wanted the land, but $2.3 million was getting expensive for a building they planned to demolish. She hesitated. $2.3 million, the auctioneer said. "Do I have 2.4? Patricia made a decision. She raised her number. $2.4 million. Mr. Chen looked at Jisoo. She nodded once. $2.5 million, Mr. Chen called out. Patricia Gomez shook her head. She was done. The land was not worth more than that to her company. The auctioneer scanned the room. $2.5 million from Community First Holdings. "Do I have 2.6? Silence. $2.5 million going once. Amanda was breathing fast like she might hyperventilate. Derek had his head in his hands. $2.5 million going twice. Jisoo sat perfectly still, her face calm. Inside, her heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The auctioneer raised his gavel. "Sold. First National Bank is sold to Community First Holdings for $2.5 million. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. The room exploded. People were talking all at once. Reporters rushed forward. Camera flashes went off. The auctioneer had to call for order. Mr. Chen walked back to Jisoo and her parents. "Congratulations," he said with a huge smile. "You just bought a bank." Jisoo's father hugged her. Her mother had tears in her eyes. "May would be so proud," her mother said. At the front of the room, Derek stood up on shaking legs. He turned to look at Jisoo, his face twisted with shock and anger. Amanda sat motionless, staring at nothing, her perfect makeup starting to run as tears leaked from her eyes. A reporter from the local TV station hurried over to Jisoo. "Miss Kim, can we ask you some questions? Our viewers would love to know your plans for the bank." Jisoo took a deep breath. This was the moment May had prepared her for. Not just buying something, but explaining why. Making people understand the vision. Yes, she said. I would be happy to answer questions. The reporter signaled to his cameraman. This is Brad Wilson from Channel 7 News, and I am here at the county courthouse where something extraordinary just happened. Jisoo Kim, a 12-year-old girl, just purchased First National Bank. Miss Kim, why did you decide to buy a bank? Jisoo looked directly at the camera. My grandmother was a financial advisor for 40 years. She taught me that money is a tool that should be used to help people. First National Bank forgot that. They stopped serving the community. They rejected loans from good people with good businesses just because of how they looked or where they lived. They treated customers badly. A bank should be better than that. What are your plans for the bank? The reporter asked. I plan to make it what it should be, Jisoo said. A place that serves everyone fairly. A place that helps people understand money and make good choices. A place that treats every customer with respect, whether they have $1 million or just a handful of coins. The reporter smiled. That is quite a vision. Do you have a message for the people who work at the bank? Jisoo thought about Sophie and James. She thought about Amanda and Derek. Yes, to the employees who have been working hard and trying to help people despite bad leadership, thank you. I look forward to working with you. To the employees who have been part of the problem, your time is over. Starting tomorrow, First National Bank becomes Community First Bank and everything changes. The reporter thanked her and the interview ended, but other reporters wanted to talk to her too. For the next 30 minutes, Jisoo answered questions. She was poised, articulate, and confident. She sounded like May. Finally, Mr. Chen rescued her. I think Miss Kim needs a break, he told the reporters. There will be a press conference at the bank tomorrow morning at 9. As they walked out of the courthouse, Jisoo spotted Derek and Amanda near the exit. Derek looked away quickly, but Amanda stared at Jisoo with an expression of pure shock. Jisoo walked up to her. Amanda took a step back as if afraid. Miss Pierce, Jisoo said politely. I want to thank you. Amanda blinked. Thank me? Yes, you taught me something important. You showed me exactly what I do not want this bank to be, so thank you for that lesson. Before Amanda could respond, Jisoo walked past her and out into the sunshine. Tomorrow would be her first day as the owner of a bank. She had a lot of work to do, but tonight she was going to celebrate with her parents. They were going to May's favorite restaurant. Jisoo was going to order May's favorite meal, and she was going to say a quiet thank you to the grandmother who had believed in her enough to make all of this possible. The future was just beginning. Tuesday morning, Jisoo woke up at 5:30. She could not sleep any longer. Today was the day. Today she would walk into the bank not as a customer but as the owner. Her mother helped her get ready, braiding her hair carefully and making sure her navy blue dress was perfectly pressed. Her father made her eat breakfast even though she said she was not hungry. Big days require fuel, he said, putting scrambled eggs and toast in front of her. By 8 o'clock, Jisoo, her parents, and Mr. Chen pulled up in front of First National Bank, or rather, the building that used to be First National Bank. A crew had arrived at 6 in the morning to change the sign. The old sign was already down. Workers were installing the new one. Community First Bank in clean, modern letters. A crowd had gathered on the sidewalk. Word had spread quickly after yesterday's news coverage. People wanted to see the 12-year-old bank owner. Some were supportive, holding signs that said, "Good luck, Jisoo," and "We believe in you." Others were skeptical, shaking their heads and muttering that this was all a publicity stunt. Inside the bank, the employees were in a state of panic. Most of them had seen the news last night. They knew their bank had been sold to a child. They knew big changes were coming, but they did not know what those changes would be. Sophie stood at her window, her stomach twisted in knots. She had barely slept. Part of her was excited. Maybe this was the change she had been hoping for. But another part of her was terrified. What if the new owner fired everyone and started over? She needed this job desperately. James stood at his usual spot by the door, but his kind face was worried. He had worked at this bank for 20 years. It was all he knew. He was too old to start over somewhere new. Amanda sat at her window, her makeup heavy to cover the fact that she had been crying. She kept checking her phone, scrolling through messages from friends and family who had seen her in the background of the news coverage. "Is that really you?" they asked. Is it true a kid bought your bank? She felt humiliated. Derek was in his office with the door closed.
He had been on the phone since 7:30, calling every contact he had, trying to find a new job.
But word traveled fast in the banking industry. Everyone had heard about the auction. His reputation was damaged. At 8:45, the front door opened. Jisoo walked in, followed by her parents and Mr. Chen. Behind them came 3 other people, a lawyer, an accountant, and a banking consultant that Mr. Chen had hired to help with the transition. The bank fell completely silent. Every employee stopped what they were doing and stared. Jisoo looked around the space that was now hers. She saw the outdated furniture. She saw the flickering fluorescent lights. She saw the employees watching her with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and in Amanda's case, barely concealed hostility. "Good morning," Jisoo said clearly. Her voice carried through the quiet space. "Thank you all for being here. I know this is strange and probably scary. I am going to ask all employees to meet in the conference room in 10 minutes. But first, Mr. Walsh and Miss Pierce, could you please come with me?" Derek emerged from his office slowly, his face pale. Amanda stood up from her window on shaky legs. They both followed Jisoo, Mr. Chen, and the lawyer into the conference room. Jisoo's parents and the other consultants came too. Once everyone was seated, Jisoo opened her folder. She pulled out several printed pages and slid them across the table to Derek and Amanda. "These are surveillance recordings from the bank's security cameras over the past 2 weeks," she said. "I requested them through the proper legal channels after I won the auction yesterday." Derek and Amanda looked down at the papers. They were transcripts of conversations. Their conversations. Amanda's rude comments to customers. Derek's personal phone calls during work hours. Their mocking words about the little girl with the piggy bank. But there was more. Much more. The transcripts showed Derek on the phone discussing loans with his golf buddies. Loans that were approved despite weak applications. They showed him rejecting loan applications from minority business owners without proper review. They showed Amanda making discriminatory comments about customers based on their appearance. "These recordings have been reviewed by the State Banking Commission," Jisoo continued. "They violate multiple regulations regarding fair lending practices and customer treatment." Derek's hands were shaking. "You cannot use these against us. We have rights. We have contracts," the lawyer spoke up. "Actually, Mr. Walsh, your employment contract includes a clause about termination for cause. Discrimination and misconduct qualify as cause. You can review your contract if you would like, but I assure you it is clear." Jisoo looked at Derek, then at Amanda. Her voice was not angry. It was simply factual. "You are both terminated immediately. You will be paid for any unused vacation time, but your employment ends today. Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes to collect your personal belongings from your desks." Amanda's face crumpled. She started to cry, her mascara running in dark streaks. "You cannot do this. I've worked here for 8 years. I have a mortgage. I have bills. You should have thought about that before you treated customers badly," Jisoo said quietly. "Before you made people feel small because they had less money than you. My grandmother taught me that how you treat people shows who you really are. You showed me exactly who you are." Derek stood up, his face red with anger. "You are making a huge mistake. You know nothing about running a bank. You are a child playing with money you did not earn. This whole thing is going to collapse, and when it does, do not come crying to me." "I will not," Jisoo said calmly. "You can leave now." The lawyer and Mr. Chen escorted them out. Within 20 minutes, Derek and Amanda had gathered their things and left the building. James held the door open for them one last time, his face carefully neutral. He did not say goodbye. When they were gone, Jisoo asked all the remaining employees to gather in the conference room. There were 12 of them. 3 tellers, including Sophie, 2 loan officers, 2 customer service representatives, 1 accountant, 1 IT person, James the security guard, and 2 part-time employees. They filed in quietly and sat down. Everyone looked nervous. Jisoo stood at the head of the table with Mr. Chen beside her. "I know you are all worried about your jobs," Jisoo began. "I want to be honest with you. I am not firing anyone today, but I need to be clear about what is going to change here. This bank failed because it forgot its purpose. It stopped serving the community. It made people feel unwelcome. It discriminated against good people who needed help. That ends now." She paused and looked at each person. Over the next few weeks, we are going to retrain everyone. We are going to learn how to treat every customer with respect, no matter who they are or how much money they have. We are going to learn fair lending practices. We are going to learn how to be patient with people who do not understand banking terms. We are going to become the kind of bank that makes people feel good when they walk through the door. Sophie raised her hand tentatively. Miss Kim, what if we do not want to change? Jisoo appreciated the honest question. Then you should find another job. I am not trying to be mean, but if you do not believe in treating people fairly, then you do not belong at Community First Bank. This is not optional. This is what we are. One of the loan officers, a man named Robert, spoke up. What about experience? You are very young. How do you know how to run a bank? I do not, Jisoo admitted. Not yet. That is why I hired consultants to help me. That is why Mr. Chen is going to oversee operations until I am older. But I know what kind of bank this should be. I know the values we should have. And I know that those values are more important than experience. We can learn processes and procedures. But if we do not have the right values, nothing else matters. She pulled out another document. I have written a mission statement for Community First Bank. I want to read it to you, and then I want to hear what you think. Jisoo read. Community First Bank exists to serve every person in our community with fairness, respect, and honesty. We believe that everyone deserves access to financial services regardless of their income, their background, or their appearance. We believe that money is a tool for building better lives, and we are here to help people use that tool wisely. We believe that our success is measured not by our profits alone, but by how many people we help. The room was quiet. Then Sophie started clapping. Slowly, others joined her. Not everyone, but most of them. Jisoo could see that some people were still skeptical. That was okay. She would prove it to them with actions, not just words. Now Jisoo said, I have some immediate changes to announce. First, James Parker. Would you please stand up? James looked surprised but stood. Yes, Miss Kim? I am promoting you to Head of Security and Customer Experience, Jisoo said. You have been greeting customers with kindness for 20 years. I watched you help people. I watched you make them feel welcome. That is exactly what this bank needs. Your job will be to train everyone else to treat customers the way you do. James's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much. Sophie Rodriguez, Jisoo continued. I am promoting you to assistant manager. I watched you help a Spanish-speaking customer when no one else would. I watched you care about people even when it was not easy. I need someone like you helping to run this bank. Sophie put her hand over her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. I will not let you down, she whispered. I know you will not, Jisoo said. She spent the next hour explaining the changes that were coming. The bank would close for 1 week for renovations. The old furniture would be replaced. The lighting would be fixed. They would paint the walls in warm, welcoming colors. They would install a children's area with books and toys so parents could do their banking without worrying about bored kids. They would hire bilingual staff. They would create financial literacy classes that anyone could attend for free. They would partner with local schools to teach children about money. They would establish fair loan practices with clear criteria based on facts, not personal bias. This is going to be hard work, Jisoo said. There will be long days. There will be challenges. But if we do this right, we can make a real difference. We can help people. We can show them that a bank can be a good place, a helpful place, a fair place. When the meeting ended, employees filed out slowly. Some looked excited. Some looked overwhelmed. A few looked doubtful. That was natural. Change was scary. Sophie approached Jisoo as she was gathering her papers. Miss Kim, can I ask you something? Of course. And please just call me Jisoo. Sophie smiled. Jisoo, why did you choose me? There are people here with more experience. Jisoo looked at her seriously. Because when I watched you work, I saw someone who cared. I saw someone who wanted to help people but felt trapped in a bad system. I do not need the most experienced person. I need someone who shares the same values. That is you. Sophie nodded, wiping her eyes. Your grandmother must have been an amazing woman. She was, Jisoo said softly. She taught me that money does not make you important. What you do with it makes you important. How you treat people makes you important. I am going to make her proud. You already have, Sophie said. That afternoon, Jisoo held a press conference on the front steps of the bank. The crowd was even larger than in the morning. Reporters from 3 TV stations were there, along with newspaper journalists and bloggers. Jisoo stood at a small podium that Mr. Chen had set up. She looked out at all the faces and felt May standing beside her in spirit. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "Yesterday I bought this bank. Today I started changing it. Some people think I am too young to do this. They might be right. But I would rather try and fail than never try at all. This bank is going to be different. It is going to serve everyone fairly. It is going to help people learn about money. It is going to be what a bank should be." A reporter called out, "What would you say to other young people who have big dreams?" Jisoo thought for a moment. "I would say that age is just a number. What matters is what you know, what you believe in, and how hard you are willing to work. Also, find someone like my grandmother who believes in you and teaches you. We all need teachers. We all need people who see something in us that we might not see in ourselves yet." Another reporter asked, "What was the hardest part of this process?" "Walking into this bank the first time with my jar of coins," Jisoo said honestly. "Knowing I would be judged. Knowing people would be rude. But my grandmother taught me that you have to be brave even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard." The press conference lasted 45 minutes. When it ended, Jisoo was exhausted but happy. Her first day as a bank owner was almost over. As the sun set, Jisoo stood inside the empty bank with her parents. The lights were off. The building was quiet. Through the front windows, she could see the new sign glowing. "Community First Bank, are you scared?" her father asked. "Yes," Jisoo admitted. "But Grandma May used to say that being scared means you are doing something important. If it was easy, everyone would do it." Her mother hugged her. "We are so proud of you, baby." Jisoo looked around at her bank, at the space that would soon be transformed. She thought about Sophie and James, who finally had a chance to do good work. She thought about all the people who would walk through these doors in the coming months and years. People who needed a bank that would treat them fairly. She thought about May, who had started with nothing and built everything, who had taught a little girl that money was not about greed or power, but about possibility and helping others. "Thank you, Grandma," Jisoo whispered into the quiet space. "I will make this work. I promise." And somewhere maybe May was smiling. 6 months passed like a whirlwind. 6 months of transformation, challenge, and growth. 6 months that changed everything. The bank closed for 1 week after Jisoo took ownership, just as she had promised. That week was a flurry of activity. Contractors came in and tore out the old depressing furniture. They replaced the harsh fluorescent lights with warm LED fixtures that made the space feel welcoming instead of cold. They painted the walls in soft colors, cream and sage green and warm gray. In one corner they built a children's area with small chairs, shelves full of books and bins of toys. Parents could now bring their kids to the bank without stress. In another corner, they created a comfortable seating area where customers could sit and talk with loan officers without feeling intimidated by a formal desk. They installed new computers, new software, and a new security system. They put up signs in English, Spanish, and Korean. They created brochures that explained banking concepts in simple language that anyone could understand. When Community First Bank reopened, people came. Some came out of curiosity. Some came because they had seen the news and wanted to support what Jisoo was trying to do. Some came because they had left First National Bank years ago, when the service became terrible, and they wanted to give it another chance. The first customer through the door was Mrs. Garcia, the Spanish-speaking woman Sophie had helped weeks earlier. She walked in nervously, not sure what to expect. Sophie greeted her with a huge smile. "Welcome to Community First Bank," Sophie said in Spanish using the language skills she had been practicing. "How can I help you today?" Mrs. Garcia's face lit up. She looked around at the bright, clean space. She saw the bilingual signs. She saw the children's area where her son could play while she did her banking. She saw employees who smiled genuinely instead of looking annoyed. "This is different," Mrs. Garcia said, tears in her eyes. "This is so different." That first week, the bank served 200 customers. Some transactions were large, some were small, but every single customer was treated with the same respect and patience. A teenage boy came in with a plastic bag full of dollar bills and quarters. He had been saving money from his part-time job at a fast food restaurant. The teller, a young man named Marcus who had been hired during the renovation, counted every single coin carefully and praised the boy for his saving habits. "You are doing something really smart," Marcus told him. "Starting to save this young is going to help you so much in the future." An elderly black man came in to apply for a small business loan. He wanted to expand his barbershop, adding 2 more chairs and hiring additional barbers. Under the old management, his application would have been rejected within minutes. But now Sophie sat down with him and reviewed his application thoroughly. She looked at his business records, his cash flow, his customer base. Everything was solid. "Mr. Thompson," Sophie said, "I am happy to approve your loan." The man stared at her. "Really, just like that?" "Well, not just like that," Sophie said with a smile. "I reviewed your application carefully. Your business is strong. You have been in business for 15 years. You have good credit. You have a clear plan for growth. There is no reason to reject this loan. You qualified based on the facts." Mr. Thompson sat back in his chair and tears ran down his weathered face. "I applied here 3 times under the old management," he said quietly. "They always said no. They always had some excuse. But I knew it was because of what I looked like." Sophie reached across the desk and handed him a tissue. "That was wrong," she said simply. "That should never have happened. We are different now. I can see that," Mr. Thompson said. "I can really see that." Stories like this spread through the community. People started talking about the bank that actually cared about people. The bank where a 12-year-old owner had fired the mean employees and hired people who wanted to help. The bank where you could get a fair shake regardless of what you looked like or how much money you had. Customer numbers grew. After 1 month, the bank had 400 regular customers. After 3 months, 800. After 6 months, Community First Bank had more customers than First National Bank had ever had, even in its glory days. Jisoo came to the bank every day after school. She did her homework in the office that used to belong to Derek Walsh. She attended meetings with Mr. Chen and the management team. She listened to customer feedback. She reviewed loan applications to make sure the decisions were fair. She also started the financial literacy program she had promised. Every Saturday morning, the bank offered free classes on different topics: budgeting basics, understanding credit, saving for college, starting a business, how to avoid scams. The classes were packed. People brought their children, their parents, their friends. Jisoo taught some of the classes herself, sharing the lessons May had taught her. She made complex concepts simple and clear. She never made anyone feel stupid for not knowing something. "Money is just a tool," she would say. "You're not bad with money. You just never had anyone teach you how to use the tool. That is what we are here for." One Saturday, a woman in her 30s attended the class on credit scores. At the end, she waited until everyone else had left, then approached Jisoo nervously. "Miss Kim," she said, "I just wanted to say thank you. I have been scared of banks my whole life. My family never trusted them. We kept our money in cash hidden around the house. But watching you, a 12-year-old, be brave enough to do all this, it made me think I could be brave too. I opened my first bank account here last week. I am 34 years old and it is my first real bank account." Jisoo smiled. "That is wonderful. That is exactly why we do this. And you do not need to call me Miss Kim. Just Jisoo is fine." The woman laughed through happy tears. "Okay, Jisoo, thank you. For everything. Not everything was easy. There were challenges. Some of the employees who had stayed from the old bank struggled to change their habits. They had been trained to rush customers, to make people feel bad for not understanding things, to prioritize transactions over relationships. Unlearning those habits was hard. James worked with them patiently. He held training sessions on customer service. He role-played difficult situations. He reminded them every day that their job was not just to move money around, but to help people feel comfortable and confident. One employee, a teller named Patricia who had worked at the bank for 10 years, could not make the adjustment. She tried, but she kept falling back into old patterns. She would sigh when customers asked questions. She would rush through explanations. She would make people feel like they were wasting her time. After several warnings and additional training that did not help, Jisoo had to make a difficult decision. She called Patricia into her office. "Patricia," Jisoo said gently, "this is not working. I can see that you are trying, but this job is not a good fit for you anymore." Patricia's face fell. "Are you firing me?" "I am going to help you find a position that is better suited to your skills," Jisoo said. "Mr. Chen has connections at several banks that operate differently than we do. Banks where the focus is more on fast transactions than on customer relationships. That might be a better fit for you. But here at Community First Bank, We need people who genuinely enjoy helping others. I do not think this makes you happy. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. You are right, she admitted. I do not like all this talking and explaining. I like when things move quickly and efficiently. I thought I could change, but maybe I cannot. That is okay, Jisoo said. Not everyone has to be the same. But we have to be honest about what fits where. Mr. Chen helped Patricia find a position at a large commercial bank downtown, where the customers were mostly businesses doing quick, straightforward transactions. It was a better fit and Patricia was happier. Jisoo hired a new teller who loved talking to people and had a natural gift for explaining things clearly. The loan program became the heart of the bank's mission. Sophie, now the assistant manager, developed a fair and transparent loan approval process. Every application was reviewed based on clear criteria: business viability, credit history, cash flow, and repayment plan. Nothing else. Within 6 months, Community First Bank had approved loans for a Korean restaurant that wanted to expand its dining room, a woman who wanted to start a house cleaning business, a young couple buying their first home in a neighborhood that other banks considered too risky, a mechanic who wanted to open his own auto shop, a grandmother who wanted to start a daycare center. Every single one of these loans had been rejected by First National Bank under Derek's management. Now they were all succeeding. The restaurant was thriving. The cleaning business had hired 3 employees. The couple was fixing up their house. The mechanic's shop was already profitable. The daycare had a waiting list. These success stories attracted more customers. People who had been rejected by other banks came to Community First Bank and found fair treatment. People who had never felt welcome in banks discovered a place where they were respected. The media attention continued. Jisoo became something of a local celebrity, though she tried to stay humble. She was interviewed by national news programs. Business magazines wrote articles about her. She was invited to speak at schools and community centers. But the most satisfying moments were not the big interviews or the growing customer numbers. They were the small, quiet moments. Like when a little girl came in with her mother and saw Jisoo working at her desk. "Mommy," the little girl whispered loudly. "Is that the kid who owns the bank?" "Yes," her mother said. The little girl's eyes went wide. "I want to own a bank when I grow up too." Jisoo overheard and walked over. "What is your name?" she asked. "Emma," the little girl said shyly. "Well, Emma, you can own anything you want when you grow up. A bank, a store, a company, anything. You just have to work hard and never let anyone tell you that you cannot do something because of how old you are or what you look like." Emma smiled so big her whole face lit up. Her mother mouthed thank you to Jisoo with tears in her eyes. As the 6-month anniversary approached, Mr. Chen reviewed the bank's financial performance with Jisoo. The numbers were remarkable. The bank was not just surviving, it was thriving.